Welcome to the Craftsman's Corner, episode 2. And if you're not familiar with this, my Craftsman's Corner videos or my channel, go back and familiarize yourself with some of the videos, especially the ones over this past month, and episode 1, which was posted on the 25th of last month. So you can look for that and you'll know exactly what I'm doing here. To keep me organized, I've got a topics list that I'm going to go through, and I'm sure I'll end up tossing in some more things as I go. But the topics for this video are questions and comments from this past month, wipe on poly, which is the finish I used on the sofa table, show pictures of the sofa table in the customer's house. It's all finished now and delivered. I'm going to show some new tools, show some cell phone photos that I took on a trip for Easter. I took a lot of photos in some junk stores and antique stores of tools and furniture, things that I'm considering for future projects, so you can let me know your thoughts on those things and what you would like to see most. Also, for the past 8 weeks, I've been in a beekeeping class and just finished it up. There is going to be one more thing to do with the beekeeping class, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that and then more on the topic of beekeeping in the future. Also, I've been having some people want to send me photographs of different projects and tools of theirs, so I'm going to start showing some of those in videos and on Facebook, and which will be a cool way sort of for subscribers to end up interacting with each other, not only me interacting with you. So I think that's a pretty neat aspect. So with those topics mentioned, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Let's take a look at some of the questions from over this past month. A couple of them are a little goofy, but then other ones are pretty good. How do you frame a round window? I forgot who asked, but that was one of the questions. And for that, I'm going to show you the little jig that I use, so let's go ahead and go over there and check that out. For the windows, the person was referring to the windows that I made in the stained glass video, so be sure to check that out if you're not familiar with it. They were small 8-inch windows made out of 4 pieces like this. This is a quarter of the circle. The reason I made it out of 4 pieces is to where the grain was as straight as possible through this piece, to where you not ended up with short grain that could break easily. First thing I did was made a small template out of Luan, which is thin plywood, and then traced that out onto a 2x6 and cut out the 4 pieces for each window. The next step is to rip a groove through the middle of them to accept a spline. I did that on this jig here, which cuts the groove on the table saw. This rides up against the fence. You put your piece here with the bottom of it flush with the table saw's top, and then I just lightly clamped it in place with an Irwin clamp. With the fence adjusted, you just rip that groove right down the middle on both sides. Once you have all of your pieces with the grooves cut, you end up joining them like this. You just cut a spline that's the thickness of your table saw blade, add glue to the groove, and then slip the spline in there, and then put the 2 pieces together. And then you do it to all 4 joints, and then I put a clamp around it, which is a band clamp. I got mine at Harbor Freight. They're about $5 and $6 a piece, and they work great. If you don't have those, you can rig it up with some sort of a big rubber band or pieces of inner tube, whatever. It doesn't really matter. These don't need to be clamped together that tight. The joint just needs to be all closed up. So that's as simple as that goes, and that doesn't matter whether you're making a window this size, bigger, or whether it's just an arch and then you would frame off the bottom of these, but that's roughly the technique that I use for doing this type of joint. Kevin Haynes asks, have you ever been told you sound like Leonardo DiCaprio? Well, the short answer to that, the only answer to that, is no. And unless he develops some sort of a strange southern accent, I don't think I'll be accused of it in the future. Danny Ratliff, your videos are like a favorite magazine. I can't wait for the next issue. Great comment. Weston Wood, here's a question. Do you have any hand-hewn projects planned for the ads? And the ads is a tool that I recently got on my trip to a flea market, and I did a video on that if you'd like to see more. The ads is I'm going to end up fixing up, putting a new handle on it, and the answer to your question is yes. I've got multiple projects planned, not sure which ones I'm going to choose, which ones I'm going to do videos on, and when I'm going to film and post them. So I won't reveal anything and ruin the surprise for now, but be sure to look for those in the future. Ben Marsh, can you do a shop tour, please? I can do a version of a shop tour. I'll show some of my tools and maybe break them into categories of what they're used for, and I think that would be valuable for people looking to put together a shop or looking to step up their shop from sort of a beginner to intermediate, and then some intermediate to advanced tools. A lot of my tools, there's better versions of what you could be using, but I'm getting the same outcome, maybe not quite as easy if I had certain tools, but I'm still getting quality results with the tools that I have, so I think that would be helpful to some people. Okay, user Cal and Hobbs. On finding old tools, this is on the video where I went to the flea market. Did you get the handgun at a swap meet too? If so, good find. And then Walther with a question mark behind it. It's not a Walther, it's a Ruger P95. And if you'd like to see more on that gun, I did a video on the holster that I made for it, and you can check that out where I talk about it. And I did not buy it at a swap meet. I bought it just the good old-fashioned way, like everybody else buys them. Let's see, Glenn Harry. How about a video on your design process? Do you start with sketches, SketchUp? Where do you get your inspiration? Well, that is a big question and then broken into multiple parts. But I'll do a brief explanation now, and I'll probably do a video later talking about, maybe I'll choose a project and do a, talk more about how I come up with the ideas. How about a video on your design process? Yes, just said that. Do you start with sketches? Yes, I do some sketches sometimes. A lot of my projects, I just start working on it and come up with the details as I go. I like, sometimes when you do sketches, you end up with too final of an idea in your head, and you stick to that, whereas if you just have a general idea and build as you go, you kind of, a lot of times, will come up with a better looking project in the end because you are open to new ideas. Do not use SketchUp, and for those of you who don't know what SketchUp is, he's referring to Google SketchUp, which is a design program, design software. You can download it off the internet. It's a Google product, obviously, and it's extremely handy. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are using that, and for me, I don't really feel like I need it. It would be probably useful at times if I was to do plans for some of my projects, which I may do in the future. SketchUp would be nice for putting together plans that people could download or print off and stuff like that. Where do you get your inspiration? There's too many different areas to list. I like making so many different types of things, so each different project that I work on is inspired from something else, and some things sort of come out of my own head, and I'm not really sure where those, I guess, seeds of inspiration originate from, so it's kind of hard to pin it down. But in general, I like looking at things that are not furniture, and then antique furniture also. But when I say not furniture, I mean architectural things, the way old machines are, old woodworking tools, old barns, different construction methods. A lot of times the technique is what steers my design. I'm sometimes more interested in the way things are made than what it actually looks like. So a lot of my designs will have, I guess, visible construction methods, such as like through tenons with wedges. I like that kind of thing to show how it's made and not have the piece be sort of a mystery of how it's made. So that's that, and I think that pretty much wraps up all the questions and comments. Be sure to leave more in the future. The video where I went to the flea market was a direct result of a comment left below a video, so that just shows you that if you leave a comment, I will react to it. For those of you that ask these questions, thanks for asking them, and be sure to ask more. I just went on a trip for Easter, and while I was out on the trip, my girlfriend's father, which is who I visited, he gave me this saw here. This is something that he got out of a rental house of his, and it's in good condition. It's still got plenty of length in the teeth, and one of the coolest things is it came with the hardware that holds the handles. They were still attached to the end. They are not the exact same ones, but they both work with the saw. They're going to need a little bit of work. The wing nuts are both rusted onto the bolts, which may require cutting them off or perhaps even remaking that whole bolt part, which is basically a split bolt with a trapped rivet that goes through the saw. That wouldn't be too big of a deal to make, but I would rather use the original hardware if I can. And see if I can't hold the saw out where you can see the whole thing. But it is about a 5.5 foot long saw. So that'll be in a future video showing some of the details of getting that back into working order. One of the other things is this, which is a timber framing auger. This is the type that has the T-shaped handle on top and then a nut that goes on it to hold that handle on. And of course, I'll be putting together a video on cleaning up this tool and using it. And as you can see there, I only paid $2 for this. And some of the antique stores, I was seeing this tool for $20 to $40 when the handle was included. But it's a quick thing to make. So the other day I had to go talk to one of my neighbors about looking for a certain type of tree that I'm trying to find, and we got off topic. We ended up talking for about an hour or so, and while I was there he ended up asking me if I wanted an old vise that belonged to my great-grandfather that he had probably bought from him about 70 years ago or more. This man is 91 years old, and my great-grandfather would have been 70 some years old at that time. But this is the vise that it turned out to be. I expected some small tabletop normal vise that most people are going to have, and this is what I ended up getting, which is this is an old blacksmithing leg vise or post vise. And as you can see, this is extremely cool. When you're expecting just something small, and this is what he ends up pulling out of a barn, it was a really neat find, and the connection of it being my great-grandfather's is very cool. He did a lot of blacksmithing and ended up selling his stuff, sold his tools and his anvil to someone else, and man down the street bought the vise. So I'm really happy to get it back in the family and just wanted to show it to you. For the past 8 weeks I've been taking a beekeeping class, and the class costs $90, meets once a week, and came with quite a good amount of stuff here. I got this, the Beekeeper's Handbook, and it's the 4th edition. There's the people who wrote it. I'm not going to try to say their names. You can look that up, perhaps buy it off Amazon or wherever. Got this, Beekeeping Basics. This is put on by Penn State. There's the cover of it, and then also this little field guide, also made by Penn State. And then along with all of the books came a 3-ring binder, and it is full of information, real good stuff, but mainly consists of a printed out version of a PowerPoint presentation that's given during the class. So while the class is going, you can follow along and then check back later or before the classes to familiarize yourself with the content. Also came with a CD, which has the color version of the whole presentation, and it's really cool. And I encourage you to look in your area for local bee clubs that do similar things if you're interested in the topic. And the $90 I think is a great deal for all this. It also came with a 1-year membership to my local Beekeepers Association, so I can go to all the meetings and participate in their different events, and it's included in the class. And won't get too much into the beekeeping now, but just wanted to mention it to where if anybody wanted to start asking questions, and if I know the simple answer, I'm not going to try to teach anything on beekeeping. I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to be dangerous by giving out some sort of bad information. But on to the next thing. When it comes to reclaimed wood, I've been getting a lot of questions and comments about where to find it, what kind of projects to use it in, and so forth. And basically people saying that is one of the biggest reasons they subscribed, and they'd like to see more videos on that topic. So don't worry, you'll see many more videos on reclaimed wood, but in the meantime, here's some boards that I purchased for $5 a piece, 2.5-inch thick, 9.5-inch wide oak boards, 8 feet long, and they were floor joists out of an old building that this person was restoring. So I think this is a good example of how to find this kind of wood. Basically, just in me making my tables, people know that I use this wood, and I get contacted through emails just saying, I've got some old boards that you might be interested in. So ended up picking these up for a pretty good deal, and these will probably be used in a future video on one of my projects. And as the name implies, a wipe-on poly is indeed wiped on, and I use a rag made out of an undershirt. And you want to fold it and roll it in a way that eliminates any of the folds and creases that might sort of put lines into your finish. First, I dip it in a mineral spirits just to where the polyurethane doesn't soak into the rag too much, and then dip it into the wipe-on polyurethane. I mix up my own. It's made from 50% poly and 50% mineral spirits, and you can kind of tweak that mixture to suit your needs, but 50-50 is a pretty good way to go. The advantage of your wipe-on poly is as you're wiping it on, the rag wipes up any excess that might drip, whereas a brush can be pretty tricky to apply it. Also, a brushed-on polyurethane finish is a pretty thick, plasticky looking finish, and a wipe-on poly applies it in just a thin film, and you can build it up to any thickness you would like. And so it has the protection of the poly, but it's got that wiped-on look, which is what a lot of people are trying to achieve. And overall, I really like the finish. It's easy to apply. It's not super slow. It's not super fast either.
but it doesn't take anywhere near as long as something, say, like a sort of a French polish, which is a high-end finish, but when you're trying to move along and get the job done, this is a good route to go.
And that's all there is to it.
So here's the sofa table installed behind the sofa, and the farm table I made first across the room in the corner. And as you can see, it fit very nicely in the place behind the sofa. It looks great, and they were very happy with it. And this photo shows the wipe-on poly in the drawer. The top for the farm table is made of western red cedar. It was reclaimed from an old porch. And then the base is just yellow pine painted black. Both projects were very enjoyable, and I look forward to working with those customers again. Now for some subscriber photos. The first up is of a canoe sent to me by fella signed his email Tyvek Boy, and this is a canoe, kayak, and a sailboat that he had made and covered in Tyvek, and I'll include a link to where he posted more pictures on Lumberjocks. Another subscriber, Jacob, sent me these photos from England. He picked up these items at a yard sale: hand planes, hammers, chisels, mallets, and C-clamps for only £3, which I think equates out to about $4 or $5. So nice find, Jacob. Next up was a Craigslist find, and this was sent to me by a subscriber named Way. He ended up finding this hand plane, got it cleaned up, and is not quite sure of the maker. I suspect it's a Craftsman. It looks like one similar to mine due to the red handles. So if you know better than me, let him know. But good job, Way. You got a nice hand plane there. Up next are some of the tools that I found on my trip. I did not buy these, but just took photos of them. Here's an old toolbox, and at the top you can see that would hold old hand saws. This was a tiny little clamp. It was only about 6 inches. It was very neat. And a slightly larger one. Then in another place I found it was just a collection of anvils and other blacksmithing tools. This was sort of a mysterious item, this axe with a square hole through it. This was a nice little upright spinning wheel. It has a really nice size, and it still worked great. Then an old rake. And up next was a cool find, was a broad axe. The store actually had about 5 or 6 of them, but they were very expensive. And then a wooden hand plane. This is the type that would have had a handle in the front for a second person. Also in the list of photos was some furniture. This rocker was pretty interesting with its bold rockers down below, and then this sort of Siamese corner chair. I really thought that was interesting. This chair was fairly ordinary, but what I did like about it was the fineness and delicateness of the back. Another chair, this one also had some delicate features. It was very small, but the back was also pretty intricate and delicate, and then its feet were very nice with the tips of them just kind of flared out just a little bit. Lastly was this farm table. It was cool with its drawer, and you could put one of these on either side, which makes for good storage. So let me know if you'd like to see one of these things made in a future video.
So that pretty much wraps up all the topics for this episode of the Craftsman's Corner. The first episode really went good. I didn't know what people would think about it, but with a title like it was, it didn't say how to do this or this type of tool. I was really surprised with the amount of people that watched the video. I think it's over 1,500 people or so that have watched it. So it really has gotten a good response, and even people have left comments on the videos I posted since then referencing the first episode of the Craftsman's Corner. So it sort of really took hold, and I'm very happy about that. Some of the channel stats since that first episode have been over 68,000 views, 331 new comments, over 950 new subscribers for a total of over 3,700, and then over 1,700 likes, which I think are the thumbs up. So it really has grown in the past month, and each month things grow more than they did the previous month, and so I'm very happy with it. So keep on subscribing to all those people that are just seeing this for the first time, leaving comments, the thumbs up, and sharing my channel with others. I'll try to return the favor by posting good quality videos on the topics that you're asking for, and keep putting together these Craftsman's Corner videos. The first one I didn't have a clue what I was doing. This one I knew a little bit better about what I wanted to do, and in doing this one I know more about how I want to do the next one. So they will only get better in time, but what will increase that is your interaction. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Click the big red button now and you'll become a subscriber to my channel and be able to follow along with all future videos.